If you count Inauguration Day, today is Governor Christie's 100th day in office. Whether it's cuts to the state budget or a public feud with the state's biggest teachers union, the governor has certainly made his mark. State House correspondent Zachary Fink is here now with more. Zach?
Well, Adrian, we spoke to a number of people for this story, both Republicans and Democrats, and while there are divergent views on how successful Christie has been during his first 100 days, there was some agreement that Christie has been very visible and that he has not shied away from tackling some of the state's most intractable problems. On January 19th, Christie took the oath of office at the Trenton War Memorial, but it was this moment when he joined hands with the state's two top Democratic leaders in the legislature, which helped define that day. Christie, a Republican, vowed to work with the opposition party to put the state on sound financial footing.
And join me in a handshake of resolve and friendship, in a handshake of commitment.
On his first full day in office, Christie signed 8 executive orders following through on campaign promises to reduce government waste and scale back what some perceive as overregulation at the state level. The governor pushed for a series of pension reforms designed to shore up the system. Those bills were eventually passed by the legislature and signed by the governor.
Well, you know, if you're at the inaugural address, the heart of his speech suggested that change was coming. I don't think there's anyone in Trenton, New Jersey, or for that matter in the state of New Jersey, that doubts that statement at this point. Change has certainly arrived.
But if Democrats had been willing to work with the governor on pension reforms, the bipartisan spirit seemed to take a hit with the governor's February budget address to a special joint session of the legislature. After just 3.5 weeks in office, the governor used his constitutional powers to call the legislators in, one day after a snowstorm.
Today, the days of Alice in Wonderland budgeting in Trenton will end.
The governor's first major speech before the legislature, I think, struck a negative tone with the legislature, and I think it's important that we, both branches of government, each branch of government treats each other with mutual respect.
In February, I thought the governor really put his stamp on the office from the outset and made it very clear that we've got a crisis. Now, in the past, if we had a fiscal crisis, the first thing the Democrats would do is raise taxes to get through the next couple of months. The governor said, no, we're done with raising taxes. That doesn't work. That destroys the economy, destroys jobs. What we're going to do is cut spending.
A month after the February address, Christie then presented his actual budget in the annual budget message, also before a joint session, and it was here that the real divisions surfaced. The Christie administration was criticized for cutting school aid by more than $1 billion, forcing fare hikes at New Jersey Transit, reducing municipal aid, and changing the way health care dollars are distributed. But it was the loss of money for schools that led to several weeks of acrimonious debate between Christie and the NJEA, a battle that is ongoing.
I think his first 100 days has really been largely defined by his fight with the teachers union, and that is an ongoing battle. You know, as far as where I fit into that, I think it's a distraction from the issues that we're trying to grapple with in the budget hearings here today.
I don't think the governor's been looking for a fight's sake. The governor's looking to get our budget under control and spend only within our means. And to the extent that interest groups rise up and try to defend the status quo, I think, you know, legitimate debates then have to occur. And so in this budget climate, the NJEA has taken the governor on, criticized some of the tough choices he had to make, and the governor's not going to be bullied.
In the lead up to the school elections, Governor Christie called on taxpayers to reject school budgets where teachers do not agree to wage freezes and contributions to health care costs. Last Tuesday, the voters did just that, rejecting a majority of budgets for the first time since 1976. The governor claimed victory, but then yesterday, students all across the state staged a walkout in protest of education cuts. Some described the governor's hard-charging style as, quote, caustic and insensitive. Others describe his actions in the first 100 days as, quote, bold and brutally honest.
I would characterize the first 100 days as chaotic and difficult. Governor Christie rode into town as a prosecutor, not so much as a governor. As a prosecutor, you view things as right and wrong. You view things as black and white. You view things as extremes. And as a governor, I think you need to be able to compromise, which he is clearly not willing or able right at the moment to do.
You got to admire a guy that will go to the Star-Ledger the day after his budget speech and say, I don't care if I'm reelected. I don't care if the voters throw me out in 4 years. I'm going to do what has to be done. And this man is relaxed whenever I've seen him, whenever he talks about this stuff, Zach. He just knows he's got to do it because the problems are so fundamentally huge, the financial problems, that there's no other alternative in his mind. And I frankly think he's absolutely right, and I think most of the people in this state think he's right, too.
Today, we asked the governor himself to characterize his first 100 days on the job.
I haven't found that the decisions as governor are necessarily a lot more difficult than the decisions were as U.S. attorney, but there are just so many more of them. The pace of decision-making is very rapid in this job. And so where in the U.S. attorney's job you had difficult decisions that you kind of built towards, and you knew they were coming, and you waited for them to kind of gather, and then you got to make them. In this job, they're coming at you much more rapidly.
And last night, the Republican State Committee held a fundraiser at the Woodbridge Hilton. It was billed as an opportunity to come celebrate those first 100 days. And Adrian, general reception was $250 per person.